because Aunt Mary used to be the big storyteller, and one time Candace and her granddaughters were like, "Oh, here she goes again," and I said, "Can you tell the story yet? If you can tell me that story, then she can stop. But if you can't tell me the story, then she needs to keep telling them." And now I wish I knew how I could tell the stories because I don't remember them all. But I do want to say that they all had their passions. That for the first 5 kids. So I don't know if they were assigned but I feel like they came from them. But Uncle Howard, like we talked about, was the radio guy, and Uncle Perry was medical. He just always wanted to be a doctor, I think. And so they used to tell us stories. We heard from grandmother and from Aunt Mary that they would wear stickers on their bodies of bones where the bones were. And
Dude,
that they
that's
would,
awesome.
walk around for weeks to help them prepare for a test, so that by the end they all knew the bones of the body. And then there was
sounds like something my
all
mom
the
would do.
tendons, and then it was and they were all walking around. They would put and then they would play games of this. I was trying to tell Dean about this, but they would play games around the kids. He goes, I said they were before TV, before anything, and he goes, before board games, and I said, well, they played these games, and he goes, oh, so they just they just dropped the game, they just had the board. No, they were not bored. Anyway, but
Yeah, why?
but they were like so he did that, and my grandmother June loved theater, kind of passed down. Anyway, and so she loved Shakespeare, and I have her Shakespeare book.
And they were all doing Latin. They were also doing all Latin, and so the older ones were doing all their Latin verbs, and so they would walk around the table in that little tiny
You
dining
gotta have
room,
it closer
and
to
they
your
would
mouth.
all repeat the Latin verbs. So even my mom, even though she was a lot younger, they get all the Latin verbs for everybody all the time. They
Helped her in music later.
yeah, I mean, but it was just so funny. So but when it was not a game. Like you came home and they had dinner, and then they all sat at the table and did homework. Even if you were too little to have much homework, you sat at the table and did something. Like education was a big thing. And Grandpa Martin would have been a doctor too.
And then the younger two, Aunt Mary, her mother, was music. She had the most gorgeous voice. And then Aunt Joanne was a dancer, which she always danced. Like when at a reunion, one of my favorite memories at a reunion, she and Uncle Norman in the 70s in Sonora, they came in and they taught everybody the hustle. And we all did, which was brand new, which I think everybody knows is my favorite line dance. But,
That explains a lot.
So we all,
That
yes,
explains
it
a
does.
lot.
Doesn't it explain a lot? And they did the hustle.
Nah, it's called a hustle,
And then they led
sweetheart.
us all around in a huge Congo line, all around her house in a huge Congo line. And when the twins, Scott and Eric, were being blessed, and Aunt Joanne and Uncle Norman were there, and they were dancing, and they got everybody dancing, and they were so fun. And when it was all done, I think they were in their 70s, something. They were
Old enough so that it was.
They were as young as me, practically, since I'm almost 60. But they were like going. Anyway, they jumped into this red convertible, and Aunt Joanne went, "Bye, everyone," and they drove off. And I was like, "That is what I want to be. That is what you will be."
Okay, we're going because it's 1:45, but we can do more stories when we're eating. Thank you. I'm glad Howard loves it because we need that.
But we're